Western officials have increased their preparation for any Russian military intervention in Ukraine, with the US concentrating on how to preserve fuel supplies, and US President Joe Biden stating he would consider implementing immediate sanctions on Russian President Vladimir Putin. Tension continued to rise after NATO announced on Monday that it was placing soldiers on alert and strengthening Eastern Europe with extra warships and military aircraft in reaction to a Russian army deployment near Ukraine's border. Welcome back to Next News Hour. If you're new to the channel, tap on the subscription button and press the notification bell. Russia, which has rejected any plans for an assault, has stated that it is watching with great concern. Dmitry Peskov, a Kremlin spokesperson, underlined Moscow's position that the situation is being caused by the US and NATO moves and not Russian force buildup. Meanwhile, Alexei Danilov, Secretary of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council, told media on Tuesday that Kiev believes, and declassified documents from the West agree, that internal destabilization induced by anxiety over an eventual additional Russian intervention is the #1 issue and not any possible invasion. The statements follow a series of national addresses by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky asking Ukrainians to ignore frantic assertions from President Joe Biden's administration and its supporters forecasting an impending Russian invasion further into Ukraine than Moscow is already. In a broadcast video speech on Tuesday evening, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky advised his citizens to keep calm and stated that efforts were being made to establish contact between him and the presidents of Russia, Germany, and France. The United States and the European Union have warned economic sanctions if Russia launches an intervention, and Western officials have stressed the importance of unity, although disagreements have surfaced up among European states on exactly how to engage. Biden further said Tuesday that there are no plans to introduce US troops to Ukraine, which is not a NATO member, but that he would consider placing direct penalties on Putin and that an intervention would have enormous implications. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson called coalition partners to be prepared to impose sanctions as soon as an invasion transpired. He stated that the UK was considering with the US the idea of excluding Russia from the SWIFT global payment system, one of several potential steps to penalize Moscow if it begins an attack. The European Union relies on Russia for roughly 1/3 of its gas supply, and any disruption in Russia's gas pipeline to Europe will aggravate an already existing energy crisis driven by scarcity. Senior Biden administration officials in Washington claimed that the US was in negotiations with key energy-producing nations and firms throughout the world about diverting shipments to Europe if Russia seized Ukraine. Representatives did not name the nations or firms participating in negotiations to secure supply to Europe during a conference call with reporters, but said they comprised a wide spectrum of suppliers, including distributors of liquefied natural gas. Kremlin has posted thousands of fighters near Ukraine and is seeking security assurances from the West, including NATO's vow not to accept Ukraine. Moscow regards the ex-Soviet state as a buffer between Russia and NATO member states. In indication that a strike is imminent, Canada announced on Tuesday that it was momentarily retreating the families of its envoys in Ukraine, while Sweden's foreign ministry advised against all non-essential trips to Ukraine as well as travel to Crimea and 2 regions in eastern Ukraine. The US Department of State has ordered diplomats' families to leave, while UK has announced the withdrawal of certain officials and families from its embassy in Kiev. Since 2014, when Russia invaded Crimean Peninsula, the US has contributed more than $650 million in security aid to Ukraine, totaling more than $2.7 billion. On Tuesday, a US jet delivering combat equipment and weapons landed in Kiev, the third cargo of a $200 million security program meant to significantly boost Ukraine. According to the US Department of Defense, Around 8,500 soldiers have been placed on high alert and are awaiting instructions. The Russian military launched additional training, deploying 6,000 troops near Ukraine and within the Crimean Peninsula on Tuesday. According to the Defense Ministry, the rehearsal included shooting drills with military aircraft, bombers, anti-aircraft systems, and ships from the Black Sea and Caspian fleets. And NATO now deploys roughly 4,000 troops in multiple units in Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, and Poland, supported by tanks, air defenses, and intelligence and surveillance units. Well, we'd like to know your thoughts and responses. Share them in the comments down below, and also share this news and show us support through subscribing to our channel. Stay tuned for the real stuff on next News Hour.